This might be a pretty useless guide, but that's kind of the direction my channel's been going, and honestly, it's been kind of fun so far. The PlayStation Portal is basically a remote play DualSense controller with a built-in screen, but what if you want to use it propped up as a mini portable display, much like the Nintendo Switch can do with detached Joy-Cons? Well, if you connect a DualSense to the PS5 using the same account as your Portal, it kicks you off of the Portal remote play session. But there is a workaround that I found that will let you use a separate DualSense controller with your primary account on your PlayStation Portal. And on top of that, you can also connect other controllers and use your Portal for split-screen multiplayer gaming. The catch for the first scenario where you're playing single player is that you'll actually need to have a second PSN account set up on your PS5 that is not the primary account you intend to play on. Also, this will only work on your local network because the extra controllers are actually connecting to your PS5 directly like normal rather than through your Portal. But other than that, there's not much needed other than the extra DualSense controllers if you're interested in the multiplayer aspect of this video. And as I said, you'll need another PSN account if you want to use this for a single player setup. But let's get into it. As I said, the first thing you're going to need is a second PSN account. So I have one set up here, and you're just going to want to make sure you go into settings and enable remote play because it won't work if you don't do this. Once that's done, now you can sign out of your main PSN account on your PlayStation Portal and sign into the secondary PSN account. The whole reason for this is presumably your primary account that you want to play games on is the one you want to use your controller with, while your Portal is the display. But if you don't care what account you're playing on, you don't really care about your trophies and all that, you don't necessarily need to do this. So now that the Portal is signed into the second PSN account, we can connect to the PS5. It'll load up the home screen of this second PSN account. Now's the time where you bring out your controller that you want to use with your Portal, hit the PlayStation button, and then choose your primary PlayStation account that you want to be playing with this controller. So basically this controller will be player 2 now, but if you press and or hold the PlayStation button, this will bring you to your primary account's PlayStation main menu, and you're basically playing your Portal like it's a TV. And one setting you might want to check, make sure is turned off, is this hide remote play connection status, because there's a little pop-up that can stay on the screen sometimes. So that'll just make sure that doesn't happen. And now I'll just demonstrate this for you with a little bit of Dead Space gameplay. So basically I get to play Dead Space, a single player game, with a secondary controller with my Portal as a sort of wireless display. That works all well and good. Now let's say you want to play multiplayer on the Portal. So now let's bring out another controller, press the PlayStation button on that one, and then we can just use a quick play user just for demonstration purposes. You could use a PSN account if you wanted to. And now we have two controllers connected to the PS5. And if you keep using one of these controllers as the primary user at the time, by holding the PlayStation button and going to their main menu before opening any games, then you can use these other controllers as player 2 or player 3, regardless of what the indicator says on the controller. Just as an example, here's Scott Pilgrim with the player 2 controller showing up as player 1, and then the player 3 controller showing up as player 2 in-game. And if you didn't know, you can also use PS4 controllers if the game on the PS5 is a PS4 version. So here's a DualShock 4, we can connect that as player 4, but then in-game it'll be player 3. Unfortunately, you can't connect another controller to be player 4, but you could use the Portal itself as another controller if you so desired. So here's two controllers, player 2 and player 3, showing up as player 1 and player 2 in Scott Pilgrim, and then the Portal is also connected in this instance, but that is entirely optional in this case. So here's Overcooked 2. If you ignore the entire secondary PSN account thing and you have the Portal as player 1 and you open a game as player 1 with some other controllers connected, filling out the rest of the party. The problem with this is if you don't want anyone to have to hold the Portal and play with it, then it's going to have an extra player in the game. So this is why you want to be using a secondary PSN account besides the one logged into the Portal as the primary game opening account, I suppose you'd call it. Another use case for this would be using the Portal as another controller and everyone's just looking at the TV like normal. I did that back in the day when I didn't have many PS4 controllers. I used the Vita itself as another PS4 controller in a similar method. But here's another example of this. In some games, you actually get the opportunity to select sides, like in EA Sports games. So in this case, the Portal is still player 1, But if you play in offline mode, you can actually ignore player one and not choose a side with them, and then you can just use your secondary controllers to choose sides. So the portal is just kind of left out of the actual gameplay, and then you can just use your controllers. But I don't think a lot of games give you this sort of choice. Just wanted to put it in the video to be thorough. Hopefully that all makes sense. Basically, you could use the portal as a portable display in your local network with controllers, or you could use it as another controller if you're interested in playing multiplayer games. Using your portal on a secondary PSN account on your PS5 will give you the most versatility, but there are some use cases where you won't need to do that. And feel free to ask me any questions if I wasn't clear about any of that. Hopefully that was a useful tutorial if you're interested in playing your portal in one of these types of scenarios, whether it be single player or multiplayer. Let me know down below if you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.